Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lady Vibe. I am your co host, Rachel.
This is your co host, Dr. Ning. Welcome, everyone. For those who work in the corporate world, you know that success at work is not just about working harder, it's about working smarter, building strong relationships, communicating effectively, and leading with integrity. In this episode, we would like to discuss how to excel and advance your careers with our honored guest, Mr. Joseph Machcote, former Chief Culture Officer and longtime HR and talent executive. I'm going to welcome Joe to the studio. Hey, Joe, welcome to the studio.
Hey guys, it's good to see you all again.
We discussed also, kind of lead to another topic I want to touch on. Workplace is not always the happiest place.
Right.
Sometimes we encounter different people, difficult boss, and sometimes the culture is just toxic. Um, so in that kind of environment, you mentioned something at the level of you have to have a healthy level of dissatisfaction, right?
Right.
So you have to know like when is the point that you need to make a change.
Hmm.
So can you talk then? But sometimes like it's just not all like not everybody has that luxury to be able to find another job quickly or being able to move on to another place. So from your experience, like when you encounter somebody like that, somebody difficult at work, um, like what can people do like to
Yeah.
protect themselves and kind of just you know get peace of mind.
Yeah. Well, two things. I think, the question I think you kind of started with is, you know, having that healthy dissatisfaction for the way things are. Like, when does it start? It should always be on. When should it start? Immediately, and it should last for the rest of your career. So there's not a moment, and the reason that you have that going is for those moments where that will take place. And at the easy answer is, well, just leave, right? That's probably the easiest one, and you can think about that. uh, Gosh, I only retired like, what, 12 weeks ago, maybe 10 or 12 weeks ago. And I'm thinking, my plan B and plan C is, suppose this doesn't work out for me. What is my plan B? What's my plan C? So I've already got those things charted.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to get to the point of complete burnout, because that's not going to be helpful for anyone. It's not going to be helpful for me, especially, but it's not going to be helpful for the people I'm working with, the clients I've gathered, and things like that. So I kind of constantly have to be thinking about that. But
Mm.
if you're in a situation where the environment has now become toxic, there's a couple of different options. So, number one, do I just not number one. Number one is, do I leave? Number
Mm.
two is, do I build a bubble around myself and I create this non toxic environment bubble just around me so that I can survive the toxicity of the environment, right? So it's like someone throws you in the water and it's 300 feet deep. You're not going to last if you sink to the bottom without some sort of suit on. So you got to put on your suit, your pressurized suit that feeds you the oxygen and all the life-giving stuff that you need in order to survive in that type of environment. So you have to build that stuff up around you. That is exhausting. I don't recommend anybody does that for long, because that's how burnout accelerates.
Hmm.
And a toxic environment is an accelerant to that.
Def-
um, the third thing is, you just disengage completely. And
yeah.
unfortunately, there's so many people that just disengage, and it almost becomes, look, you know what? I would rather, your boss, even your toxic boss, is like, I would just rather you didn't work here than you just showing up for the sake of showing up.
Yeah.
So So, kind of like back in my book, it is really all about owning your stuff,
Mhm.
because you can't change other people's behaviors, but you can certainly change your own. And you can also change your boundaries, and you can change your choices on what you want to put up with at this moment and what you
Mhm.
don't want to put up with at this moment. And it may seem painful making that transition, but you know what? Hey, I've got certifications. I have been in the C-suite. I'm a senior HR executive. I have coached and led companies. Um, and now I'm coaching, I'm leading my own company. I'm the CEO of my own company. But you know what's on my plan B? I might go and be a waiter in a restaurant. you know it's a very noble job. There are people that make their entire living by doing that, and I may have to deal with some stuff, some little toxic environment, but maybe that's only on table 9, and table 8 is fantastic. So I don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah.
But even that is on my plan B, because I want to stay busy, I want to stay engaged, I want to continue to work with human beings. So, but even with all my licensing and everything else,
Mhm.
I'm okay going to, the hospitality, where I started in the hospitality industry. I'm
Mhm.
totally okay going back and working with that, even if that is a gap that,
Yeah.
to create the bridge to that next place I want to go.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you don't want to let your ego prevent you from
Yes.
any other possibilities.
Amen. That's it,
Yeah.
right? That's part of owning your stuff is,
Yeah.
how do I continue and bridge that gap, but without letting my ego get in the way.
Yeah.
Like that job is too big, is too small for me. No such thing. If it's green and it rhymes with money, it should not be small for you.
Joe, so if someone get mistreated at work, is it useful to report that to the HR? Like, I have heard mixed stories. Some HR
Mm.
they protect the bully, and some HR they protect the employee. But from your past experience, is it really useful? Should we trust?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Uh, HR and legal are things that are very, very tied together in our American culture.
Yes.
And the one thing that is very powerful and positive in the HR and legal world is documentation. And the more that we can write down the things that we have that are happening and have evidence, because those things can also turn against you. And we've seen this happen. We've seen it happen in cases of dishonesty. We've seen it happen in sexual harassment cases,
Yep.
where you go to HR and you don't have enough of the
True.
evidence.
Yep.
Right. And no one is saying that it didn't happen, but they're saying you have to prove that it happened.
Mhm.
And that's the unfortunate part, is you've got to come with all of this evidence, which in some ways feels very demeaning. It's like, why don't you just believe me? I'm telling you.
Yep.
And I've even seen in cases where legal, or the defendant, it goes to court, and the defendant's attorney is like, well, how long has this been going on and you didn't say a word about it, right? And they turn it on you, and they turn the victim into, now all of a sudden you're the one that made the mistake. This was your fault.
yeah,
It's mind blowing to me,
Yes.
how that can happen. But anyone who's in a situation like that, I would say, collect your evidence. Do a really nice job of collecting your evidence. If it's something that comes in an email, collect the email with a timestamp on it. If it's a text or a phone,
Mhm.
keep it all. Don't delete it. Don't feel, I can't tell you how to feel, but a lot of people are embarrassed by things like that, and they just, they're like, oh my god, I was so disgusted, I just got rid of it. Don't do that. Hold on to it, because a pattern will emerge.
A pattern will emerge, even if the person going through it has to endure for a while to have their proof.
You're right.
and
It's
hopefully
ridiculous.
eventually you get the justice you deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say too, if it's very, very serious, I would go to HR and let them know if and when it becomes time to file a police report,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
But I would try and keep the organization in the loop before you go ahead and do that. But you, again, own thy stuff.
Yeah.
It's you first.
Yeah.
It's your stuff. Don't let anyone take that much advantage of you that that yeah, no, just don't let it escalate too far.
To
And
the
oh, and
point that
yeah,
you're breaking your your mental health.
yes, right, yeah, yeah. And even if it's just beginning, shoot a warning shot across the bow of HR and
Yeah.
say, look, you know what? I don't know if this is a formal complaint or if anything you need to do about it, but I do want to get it on record that
Mhm.
this happened in case a pattern begins to emerge. So
Yeah.
be proactive with it as well. Let people know ahead of time. If it's the 15th time it happened and you go in there, somebody's going to ask you the question, well, this has been happening. How come you didn't say anything before?
Right.
And then they'll find a reason for you as to why you said it after the 15th time. Well, is it because you had a bad performance review that now all of a sudden you're bringing it forward? So
Hmm.
don't let that happen to you.
Right.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I have I want to discuss. I know it's a little bit heavy to talk about issue, but
Bring
like
it, Ning.
when it gets to the point like people need to move on to another career or another job, like the it, they need to have that network of people that
Mm.
they can provide opportunities. It's hard to just you know cold call someone or cold connect with someone. So I would like to hear some of your insights about how to build like effective and meaningful professional network,
Mm.
so that when we like when we need it we can tap into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, um, I think in our roles, we're probably always networking in one way or another. I think from a professional point of view, um, you know, even like going to conferences and things like that, I think are a very effective way of just connecting with people. And what I find the behavior is at conferences, we collect all of these business cards and we're like, hey, let's stay in touch.
Hmm.
And then we don't.
Right.
And do what you say you're going to do. If you
Yeah.
collect somebody's business card
Yep.
and it's about staying, then stay in touch. And even if you just send them a note on a regular basis or something like that, hey, you know what? I thought about that. I was just thinking again that conversation we had at that last conference, and you came to mind, and maybe I have a question for you, right? So what you're building is an informal mentoring relationship by doing that. So building a relationship isn't just a reach out; it's a reach out with intentionality and purpose.
Mhm.
And as you begin to create that thing, that person will start to do it back to you.
Yep.
And those are the things that deepen relationships. And you have just these deep conversations about
Hmm.
work in general or life in general, or what it is to be a mom. And but I think building relationships like that is super important, and then tying that to what your secondary and tertiary career plan is. So if I'm doing X right now in this organization, I don't want to wait until things blow up here to have that healthy dissatisfaction with the way things are. If I have that all the time, and I don't care how wonderful things are right now in your organization, get ready because something will blow up at some point.
Right.
So that has to be on all the time. So I think the mix between what is that plan, what would be that secondary plan, and what are the relationships that I built around it, you know? So I will tell you, so I told you, if my consulting business goes south, I'll most likely go back into hospitality. So one of the things I started doing is reaching back out to people that I built networks with in hospitality, so
Sure.
that if in time that moment comes across, I with a call, I could be like, where in your world are people hiring? Where are you guys looking for extra help?
Hmm.
What are you doing? Would you be willing to write me a recommendation on LinkedIn? that type of thing. So making meaningful connections, not
Mhm.
just, hey, just dropping a note to say hi. That's that's not good. It has to be deep and meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a conference I went to for 5 or 6 years in a row, and we all had such different roles. I mean, it was like
Mm.
I was the med device person. This guy's the chief pharmacy officer. This guy's the guy who works on immunoglobulin blood stuff. And it didn't make sense, but we all just really enjoyed each other's company. And
Hmm.
so over the course of these 5 or 6 years, every year we would have a dinner. It was about six of us, and we still have a text string going,
Yeah.
and it's been fun to kind of watch them grow. And some of people have switched companies, switched hospitals, but yeah, I think it's kind of that true essence of even just a hey, how are you doing, catch up can go a long way.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and the other thing, super, super important, find the time to get involved in your community, whether that is joining a board or anything like that. There is no better networking
Mhm.
opportunity than to connect through passionate leadership.
Mhm.
And when you're joining a nonprofit, maybe, I don't know, it's a local food bank or it's something on mental health or whatever it is that's in your community, and it's something that brings your skills and knowledge as something that's really important to sit on that board. But you're going to meet the most diverse, interesting people that are all very like-minded. They're all very like goal minded. They don't
Mhm.
have to be like minded, but like goal minded, which is to support the organization. You will
Mhm.
be amazed at the contacts that you're going to make. And then attend the events that they have, whether
Mhm.
it's a dinner or, it's free information or it's education. Volunteer. Just get out there in the community and you will broaden your network so impressively.
Mhm.
And there's nothing that, humans are tribal in nature. Humans are looking for people who remind them of themselves.
Mhm.
And they will hang out in that tribe all day. And there's no better connection than getting into public service and connecting around common goals.
Mhm.
Nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, I have a personal question. So I have been volunteering in our community. Kind of, I care about environment, so I volunteer
Yeah.
in environmental protection related nonprofit organizations. Um, these people, like, we see each other at different events, but I just don't feel like I have the opportunity to really build a deeper relationship. And
Mm.
also, these people are from different walks of life. A lot of them, like, I don't see how, like, it's helping me, like, professionally.
Mm.
But so should that looking for the you know to the organization to get deeper involvement, should that be like more intentional, like
Yeah. So is that a very local community thing? Like, so
yeah,
these people that all, live kind of in the same
yeah,
area, or is
yeah,
it national?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a local.
Yeah. And you could be connected to the wrong one,
Hmm.
and maybe something that's a little bit deeper and a little bit more actionable,
Yeah.
you know, like a shelter, for a women's shelter or something like that.
Yeah.
Something where the activity is taking place all day. You're
Hmm.
you're not you're not meeting to try and solve something that is so global. Um, but I think that's an opportunity too.
And tied to our mission of promoting women's health and well-being,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
exactly.
our
Yep.
mission of the podcast, and or also my mission of
Right.
my life.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
One of the ones we got involved with, my husband did the Leukemia Lymphoma Society
Mhm.
fundraiser for. They have the Man of the Year and the Woman of the Year, and those people were so fun. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know, they were a great time, and they're all so different. But it's kind of like what you're saying, Joe, where it's like, you know, it may not make sense, but it may not need to make sense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I will tell you, my wife and I, where we've actually found our community. Both of our boys played baseball,
Uh-huh.
and we found we found solace in the parent community around these baseball players because we all shared the same passion, and they brought their diversity from wherever they were. Diversity of thought, ethnicity, what you name the diversity, it was there, right? It's not like
Yeah.
your typical male, female,
Yeah.
there's all of that stuff. It was no, we had bankers, we had lawyers, we had
Mhm.
I mean, you name it, and the profession showed up, and those communities in and of themselves, uh, you know, just create so things you can build around your family as well are
Mhm.
great communities to connect to.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
great. Really good advice.
So, as a closing reflection, Joe, like looking back your career, what advice would you give the 25-year-old of self?
Oh, wow. uh Treat people like the leader you would have wanted.
Mm.
And I think it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I finally began to realize that. Like, I was taking lessons from leaders that were not particularly good. And I was turning those into my leadership style. Also realizing that when I was working for these people, I felt awful. It was awful working for them. I didn't want to go to work in the morning. It you know that it just kind of sprung on me one day that that's not who you should be. You should act like the leader you would want to work for. And I think assuming that role younger, um, it still might have gotten me to where I am today, but maybe even faster. I don't know, but that would have been my advice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences, Joe.
Yes, of course.
And
Thank you, Jen.
if you don't mind, can you tell our audience a little bit more about your book and your current consulting uh, business? I think a lot of
Yes.
people may need follow up on that.
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and all of the information about all of those things is probably the best way to get me. And
Hmm.
I'm listed as Joseph, not Joe Machicoti. And it's Machicote is the
Mhm.
spelling of the last name. The book is called Own Thy Stuff. Is the continuous improvement journey to becoming an extraordinary human being. And it's based on 30 years of leadership notes that I've taken, where I've learned from the best leaders in my life.
Mm.
And not only that, the way that I've coached others, philosophies that I've adopted, and then a list of my mantras, the things that I try to live through and by, which, by the way, again, I'm not perfect at. My family will gladly tell you, no, you're not perfect at any of those things. But it's not reaching the perfection, it's understanding the know-how and knowing how to self-correct when you're a little bit when you've gone a little bit left, right, or you've just gone off the path, which is the default state. How do you get back on track? So that's what Own Thy Stuff is about. And it did hit number one on Amazon. So I'm a number one best-selling author now. So really proud of that accomplishment. That was hit back in
Congratulations.
Congrats.
October. Thank you. Thank you. And the name of the organization is Transformational Leadership Solutions Group. And I do coaching, I do speaking. The best part of it is the individual coaching part, but I also do consulting, and I show leadership teams and organizations not how to create a culture or make a new one or dispense of the one that they have, but how to enhance the one that they have. Nobody is out there writing bad stuff on the walls about what their values are. The problem is when we fail to connect to what those values are.
Mm.
So, how do we, as leadership teams, create the opportunity to bring those values to life?
Yep.
So, that's a little about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We hope everybody learned something meaningful and useful today to
Mhm.
advance your career and own that career.
Yes.
Oh,
Own
nice
Yes.
stuff.
All
own
nice
that
stuff.
life. Yeah. So have a happy Lady Vibe Tuesday, everybody. Hope to see you again in the studio soon, Joe.
Yes, absolutely. I love you guys, Lady Vibe. You're awesome.
We appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.